Okay, we are recording. Welcome everybody to another Eclipse Megamovie volunteer meeting. We're happy to see you all, and I think this is the last one before the 2026 eclipse. Yay! So we have a couple visitors coming, but they are going to be coming later in the program. So we will start um, with just some updates. Let me show you a picture real quick as just a quick kind of cool thing that we're doing here. Okay, I'm gonna do a share screen. All right, do you all see that? This is great. I got some thumbs up. So this is a combined photograph of one of the HDR, the high dynamic range images that our teams made, combined with this coronagraph 2 and coronagraph 3 of the NASA's SOHO telescope. So these are all white light images, and you can see, I think I can zoom in here. If I zoom in, you'll see this is one of your images. It's been processed. So this is actually, we have an even better picture, but this was the one I got yesterday. So from one of our students who just got his physics degree here at Sonoma State University. He's going off to a master's program and then probably off to get a PhD after that. So he's been working with your images along with Juan Carlos Oliveras Martinez. And so this has been fixed now, this inner kind of glitch here. But all of these streamers coming off the sun are from one of your photographs. And then this purple section is where the second coronagraph from a NASA space telescope, also part of the European Space Agency telescope, is combined with this observatory's picture. So to bring out the features that both see. And you can see how well this photograph matches that chronograph's images. And then it goes back out into the this is still part of the high dynamic range HDR image that was processed from one of your observatories. And then it's combined with C3, or yeah, the C3 or the other chronograph from SOHO. And so that this is kind of a weighted average. And then out here is the one without any of the image from the ground, just from space. These dots are stars. And you can see how you really can see these streamers come from the beginning of the photosphere of the sun all the way out into space. So we have many of these now, and we're starting to see how they differ over time. So I wanted to show you all. That's our update. Cool, huh? Thanks, you guys. So exciting. And we have even more cool images that we'll show at the next volunteer meeting. So Juan's working away at some science results, and Daniel and I. So we'll see. We're getting closer and closer every day. Yeah. All right. So that's our update from our team. And I mean for about that. So the next thing is the upcoming eclipse. So I know some of you are going. So why don't you remind each other? There's some people who haven't been here in a while. If you're going to the total solar eclipse, why don't you let us know? And why don't you tell us where you're going? Yeah. So Kathy and Tom.
Feel free to use the chat too if it's easier for you.
Yeah.
Ooh, we can't hear you, Kathy and Tom. We see your mouth moving, but no audio is coming out.
That should work. Now can
There
you?
we go.
Yes.
Nice.
There we go. Sorry, Tom got a new computer recently and still working on getting all the settings. Um, Tom and I will be in Spain in Alcañiz. Uh, have about an hour, I'm sorry, a minute and a half of totality.
An hour would be a dream.
Yeah, that would, yeah, no. Uh, units issue, a minute and a half, hour and a half. But yeah, and we will see all of totality. It will be at about 5 degrees above the horizon, and then the sun will actually set before C4, before the partial ends.
Yeah, and I see Kaz says, hopefully forest fire in Spain calms down by then. Yes. Is anyone else going to Spain? Okay. How about Iceland? Do we have anyone in Iceland?
Yeah, Doug. Oh, go ahead and unmute.
Yes,
Nice.
I contributed to the first Megamovie um, in 2017, and that was a lot of fun. I tried Texas, but the weather didn't cooperate, so let's see if we've got good weather in Iceland. Yes. So,
Fingers crossed.
well, it's if Mother Nature cooperates, we're good. But if you don't go, you're not going to see it. So, over the next few days, I'm just getting all the camera equipment tested out and make sure I can get some photos of the sun at the moment and just make sure everything's working. So looking forward to it.
Wonderful. That's very exciting. Yeah, we know that there is another volunteer who's going to be in Iceland. He was here last volunteer meeting. So there are a couple of you. So that's exciting. Great. So we're gonna talk about we made some adjustments to our photography guide from 2024 um, based on the data we got and suggestions which align with the data we got. So because so many of you have such lovely cameras and have such nice pixel depth and your noise, your kind of signal to noise ratio is pretty solid. We don't need to take quite so many of the partial stops. So we took out some of that. I'm gonna have Jeffrey talk more about that, but and we'll show you kind of the new um sequencing. And then also Kathy and Tom, thank you for your help. They helped us kind of look at some of our first edits and made some good suggestions that we then took to heart and made some more suggestions. I mean, made some more edits. So that was very helpful. And then we also took out the DIY mount since so many of you who are continuing to do eclipse chasing and photography, you have some really good mounts. And so instead, and also a volunteer, I don't know, when we were getting ready for the 2024 eclipse, had said, so many people are, they're spending the money on their really good photography equipment. So maybe you should suggest also some good, mounts that could be purchased and used. So a lot of you gave those suggestions. Some people gave suggestions for what they use, and a lot of you are using similar mounts. So we put those mounts into the photography guide as well. We do still, we have making is at the heart of our work here at Edion as part of our team. We do love the maker mentality. We love we can do it ourselves kind of approach to life. And so I think we'll still return to that conversation of kind of what might it look like to, make our own mounts. But we'll spend a little more time on that and test it and see what might be available, possible. So anyways, Jeffrey put in some of the suggested mounts from what you all are using from the last meeting. And then one thing that was very interesting is as some of you maybe remember, we kind of we learned a lot about, how you all take flats or how you never taken flats, but you would like to take flats. So some people had expertise in that and some didn't have expertise in that. And we wrote it up in the photography guide. Some way what we wrote in the photography guide made it so that a lot of your flats ended up overexposed. And so we went back and Jeffrey and I looked at kind of what we had written in there. And we realized that we had, of course, put that in there. We had put some of the exposure times for the flats. It was just too high. His histogram we said could be up to like 70%, which turns out that was too much. Too much. So we dialed that way back, and Jeffrey did a really nice kind of rewrite of the flats. And then we also had this one of the images that from a really, really wonderful, we call your cameras observatories. You might have noticed that. So some people had multiple, like they had a telescope and then they had a DSLR and then maybe they had some other camera. But it was all under one user. We decided, well, those were three observatories with one user. And so all of you, we use that terminology because it helps us talk about the observatories, the camera or the telescope or whatever it was you used. And so one of the observatories that really has really nice data for us, it also has like a lint or something on the lens, which the flat didn't have on the lens when the flats were taken. And so like we realized like, yes, you can take the flats anytime, of course, except if there's some lint that fell on your camera during the eclipse, then you need to take the flat soon before or after. You need your flats before or after so we can then remove that from the photographs. It's obvious enough that we will just ignore the data in that point. It's fine. But so that was interesting finding. I mean, of course, it makes sense, but and every time we do this, we think of more things we want to ask you all to do. So we also know there's a limit, and you get to choose whatever you want to do. So, but we'll put out what we want, and then you all can choose what makes sense for you, of course. So just another kind of, so we kind of updated a little bit of the section on the flats so that people will kind of dial back the exposure time and also try to take those flats as with the lens in the position and with that whatever is on the lens at the time of the eclipse photographs. That can be done after the eclipse, of course, but that's again just an ask, and if you can't, that's fine too. You can do your flats earlier or later. So I think those are the main. Jeffrey, did I miss any main pieces, or Tom and Kathy? Any main pieces of the photography guide that we changed?
I mean, I don't think so. I think I included some information about who's one of our stars for pointing uh, and aligning the mount.
Right, that's right.
I think that was also included in the updated guide. And I think there were, uh, I think I also included information about flat field light boxes
Yeah.
um,
Do you want to
to
say, I'm going to pull it up. Do you want to, and then I can show the sections, but do you want to talk a little bit about that as I,
okay. So there's a few methods of doing flats, but though like you probably have used the t-shirt method, but another method is using it's either using a light box or a flat field box that sets on top of the lens, and you can adjust the light as appropriate. It's linked in the guide. But one of the key things, as I was kind of doing the research on the flats, um, is specifically um, it was specifically that the range. So if you're looking at the histogram really needed to be yeah. So there's a link to the light box. And I'm considering it recommended. And I'm also considering it recommended that you that use the histogram to figure out where your exposure should be. And the histogram on average should be between 30 and 50%. And we're talking about just what the sensor sees. Um, some cameras will have RGB histograms. So those on average should be shifted as close to being between 30 and 50% as possible. That will enable, yeah, a flat field panel. That'll enable getting pretty decent flats. Um, the
there's a question, Jeffrey, about an iPad or laptop screen showing white. Will that work
Yes, you
as
you
a
you
light
can
box?
you can use that. Um, um, so there's a little bit of inconsistency of information that's out there. One of the core things that I got that's not included in the guide um, is like if you don't have if your camera isn't capable of producing a histogram, then your exposure value should be somewhere between 0 0.5 EV to 1.5 EV. It's not in the guide because really would prefer you to do the histogram, but um, and those numbers are kind of somewhat seems to be general knowledge. I had to troll through a lot of forums to kind of dig that information out from other astrophotographers, what they do. Um, I've even seen estimates as far as plus 2 EV as being acceptable for flats, but the general consensus is between 0 0.5 and 1.5 EV. Um,
I think, okay, are there other questions about that? I'm gonna, when we're done with the flats, I'm gonna jump to the sequence.
okay.
Okay.
I do have it up here, and I also have Kathy and Tom's version as well. Um,
Okay, so I'll stop sharing, you'll share?
sure, sure. I'll share my screen.
Perfect.
Okay. So, um, I basically have two charts here. They're based upon our assumption that we wanted the lowest noise as possible. Um, and at two specific locations, for the Iceland location, um, I used the average height across the entire region to for the calculation, because you don't know exactly where people are going to be. And I used the average height for Sarria, Spain. Um, and these are the exposure values based upon what it is that we want to get. So we're trying to get anywhere from 0.2 solar radii out to 4 solar radii. And the other key difference here, or in comparison to our previous gold standard guide, is we reduced the brackets so that we can increase the exposure count per bracket. So we could do better averaging between each of the brackets. So this is the ideal. We understand that not everybody can do the ideal because the exposure times for the longer end of the exposure could be too long. So I'll just show you Kathy and Tom's got version of the chart here. So they did it from multiple they have two ISOs, so ISO 100, ISO 200, and they have their sequences based upon basically your location, but the elevation of the sun relative to your location. So I'm assuming 7 degrees and 5 degrees is what, Spain? Is that correct?
Yeah, Kathy's saying yeah.
Okay.
5, 7, and 10 are all Spain.
5, 7, and 10 are all Spain.
Right. So um, we understand that in those locations that you guys are only going to have about 98 seconds of totality,
I think we're
roughly
93.
93. Okay, so you'll probably again, like we understand that you can't necessarily do what we'd like to do, which is, extremely low noise. So it's perfectly okay to use the higher ISO so that you can get the exposures down shorter. And I think one of the suggestions were that we do the shorter exposure sequences first. So
Mhm.
starting in this case, if you're doing an ISO 200, would start at 1/30th of a second. You clip your 10, and then you go to the next in the sequence. So you start from shorter and go longer, which makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Um, so this is also included on the guide at the end, because again, we acknowledge that we can't. Not every photographer out in the field can do what we would prefer. But this is definitely good enough, if that makes sense.
Jeffrey, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
This is Kathy. Given that it's physically impossible for us to take 10 of each of those different exposures in the 93 seconds that we have available,
Mm-hmm.
is it better to give you fewer shots at ISO 200 or to give you 10 shots at ISO 400?
Well, this was a question that I posed for Laura, and um, I think for the longer exposures, it's okay to knock that number down to 5,
Okay,
right? But for the shorter ones, um, probably would prefer 10. It just makes the averaging better,
sure,
right?
sure.
So when you're starting to get to say like around half a second, 1 second or 2 seconds in this case, um, I think 5 would be okay. Is that still
Yeah.
true, Laura?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, in fact, probably it's even less. That we can have fewer. And then in terms of the ISO 400, I think yeah, we would prefer to have fewer images at ISO 200 than more at ISO 400. Um,
Right. And I think the key thing is to try to re is trying to reduce as much the noise as possible.
Right. And so you can
Yeah.
reduce noise by having a lot of photographs. You can reduce noise by having a lower ISO number. And so either like it's all it's all, you can't unfortunately nature makes it so you can't have what you know the idea it's good enough is how we do science is we it's good enough. So I think the ISO 200 and then with the photographs you can take, I know you also want to take some of the longer ones so you can get out further in the corona as well. And so I think what Jeffrey's saying is modifying the number per exposure time to be something that makes sense with the shorter ones having more and the longer ones having fewer images. And then I think we'll be able to get some good information out of those photographs.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean we can speak in this way because of the data we have from you all from 17 and 24. I mean it's so cool. And now look, 26. Who knew? Hopefully, fingers crossed for all of you. Um yeah, and are there other questions, comments?
Hey, I'm
Hey,
sorry.
Spencer. No worries. You're back. You're here. You're going.
Yes, I'm assuming that you guys went over the short duration and how many shots you're going to be able to get in the short duration.
That's right. Yeah. So we were just saying, prioritize some more of the short time, the, sh- the
The shorter durations.
the shorter durations. Thank you, Jeffrey. And then you're just gonna have to come up with your own kind of plan based on your needs for your photographs. But for the longer exposure times, you can have fewer images from our perspective.
I'm assuming there will be a gold standard layout.
Yeah. But we were just talking about how it's going to be impossible to meet the gold standard. So the gold standard is more like a wishful thinking standard that you all are going to make it. But it is, yeah, we were just showing that. So Jeffrey was just showing that. And so you're gonna adopt as you did for the last eclipses, right? So everyone did what they could, and we have some great images as I was showing. Spencer, I'll show again at the end of this the cool picture that Daniel, one of our students, put together for us.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but also that reminds me, Spencer, thank you for asking because I was going to forget to tell you all that. I did send out, or Hannah sent out, Hannah Hellman, who's here today, sent out the last email on Monday with our next photography guide, that has the kind of gold standard in there. But we have another one coming out. Jeffrey just gave me another one with some updates, including how to upload your photographs. And in fact, we have that happening we're trying to do something similar to what we did for the 2024, but because we're running on a different funding source, we're doing it here at Sonoma State University. And Troy, do you want to say anything about it? It's similar to what you all did before. Do you want to talk about maybe how it's different or similar?
So it's still in like a prototype alpha stage. But it's going to be very similar to what you guys did for the 24. You're going to fill out the Qualtrics survey. It's going to send you an email with a link, and the link will have an upload portal. And it should be as simple as just clicking the folder that has all the images in it, and it should handle it for you. The only thing that's weird about it this year is I would like to ask that you don't zip it and that you organize them in folders that are named the type of image they are, so lights, darks, etc. And that's outlined in the guide.
And that is because we can't search for, well, zip files you can't really look for viruses and such. And we're using, yeah, so this will make it easier to make sure that some bad actor out there doesn't get our link and then try to sabotage all our data.
It
It
also
works
will
so
make it
far.
better if you like lose internet. It will let you partially upload the rest of them. Like, so if something happens and it stops, you don't have to start from the beginning again.
I was just going to ask that. I had a problem the last time with duplicates showing up because
Yeah, that
they don't
shouldn't happen. I
mail it
put
through.
in some code that checks for duplicates, and so it shouldn't do that. It should skip anything that it recognizes as already being in there.
Yeah. And thanks for mentioning that, Spencer, and looking at the data that we have so you wouldn't see that. I think Troy, you cleaned that up, right? So in Spencer's
Yes, I did.
yeah. So that should all be not duplicated now in your observatory. So really, really appreciate. See, we're learning every time we do this. We know how to do it better. Um, it's very, very exciting. Okay, what else? What other questions do y'all have? Okay, so the other thing is, so I know Kathy and Tom are going to come and afterwards in our August meeting. You have signed up to show photographs, presuming you get them. Yay, fingers crossed. If not, we'll all grieve with you, if that helps. If not, we'll do something else. So if I don't know if Doug and Spencer and then we had another volunteer who was here last month, but if you all wanted to come and show also your story, share your story, share some photographs, might be fun. So that will be in August.
If the
So
fire doesn't ruin it.
if the fire doesn't ruin it, yes. Kaz was mentioning that, yes. We have 2 weeks, so there's hope, I'd say. It's not a day away. Otherwise, that would be harder. Less of a probability of having it under control, but 2 weeks is pretty good usually. Living in fire area. All right, anything else people want to say about the photography guide, the gold standard, uploading?
One quick thing, and I've just asked this of Darlene by email. I'm late to this particular party. I don't have any documentation. I'm not too sure where to download the photography guide. So hopefully Darlene will send me a link of that so that I can read up. It's probably very familiar to the last two eclipses I went to.
Yeah, it's very familiar. So just some small tweaks, and there will be a new link. So Dar, don't send that out just yet because I have a new one. And so I will post that and send Dar the link, and then Dar can send it out via email to everybody.
Great.
Doug, I'm just gonna double check that you're on our EM Stars listserv, which is the elite listserv of the people that actually took photographs for us. We called you all stars because you guys are stars. And that is where the most updated photography guide would be sent to. So let me make sure that you're on that list.
That's good because I've got nothing.
Okay, yeah. So you probably are still getting our emails through the Berkeley listserv, our 2017, like everybody email. That's my
Yeah,
guess. Mhm.
that's all right. Look, I'm talking to the right people, so I'm sure I'll get the photography guide in the next day or two before, long before the eclipse, and I've got time to do some practice.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yes.
You guys ever thought about any swag for this particular party?
No, but now we have. Now we will. The 2026 swag. Yes, yes, we need to have, I agree. I'll talk to Aurora. We will see what we can do. I know, so we got so let's see, you got pins from the ASP for 2017 and hats. And then we gave you patches for 2024. So what, and you also got stickers. You got stickers and patches. What are you all, what have we not done? What would be fun? Hmm,
A
I
hat
don't
for
know.
26 wouldn't be bad.
What wouldn't be bad? Another hat? I know those hats were cool. Photography team. All right. Yes, I will.
It stands out.
Yeah. I know. And then like someone was wearing a one of our hats. I was like, hey, you're wearing one of our hats. Oh, I forget where that was. I think it was at an amateur radio club meeting. So all the wavelengths. Sunglasses, Hannah says. That'd be kind of cool. Um,
I'd like a sun hat rather than a baseball hat.
oh, a sun hat. Oh my gosh, that makes
Just
so much sense. Yes, I also I have this whole plan to make millions. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. On a parasol that is an eclipse like has has little pinholes, and so you can pull it up during an eclipse and you can see all the shadows. And that's how I'm going to make my millions, and then I won't need to write another proposal again because everyone will buy these, don't you think? But now I've given my idea away, so.
It depends on how many eclipses happen in the United States in the next 10 years.
Well, there'll be a partial eclipse with this 2026 one in the East
Yeah.
Coast. But in terms of totality, is that what you're asking? Totality?
Well, the partials are what
I know
show
the
up.
partials are the one you want for the right. No, not enough to make millions, I don't think. Is that your point?
It would still be fun.
It would be fun. I still should just do it. I mean, it seems like on Etsy I could sell it on Etsy or something. Um, all right. We have one of our guest speakers here. Shall we go to one of our guest speakers? Okay. Darcy, are you ready to be our guest speaker? How are things? So, okay, so yeah, I think yeah, so Darlene and I have to introduce you. Darlene and I when we worked at Space Sciences Lab together. Darcy was a postdoctoral fellow, which means that she had just gotten her PhD in physics and she was coming to work at the Space Sciences Lab, which a lot of us do. A lot of us PhDs in space physics do. But Darcy she got the special fellowship that I'm going to embarrass you. That only the Space Sciences Lab only gives out one special fellowship for postdocs. Is it a year, or it seems like it's every few years or something, every 2 years. Yeah. So someone gets picked to get this position at our lab, at the lab back there at Space at Berkeley. And she came in under that fellowship. That gives you a little bit of a sense of the quality of an astronomer she is, which is high quality. Now she's a professor at University of New Mexico, and that is her daughter, who Darlene and I haven't seen. And Darlene and Darcy worked very closely together on a undergrad program, research program, and that they basically supported undergrads who were basically first generation, like undergraduates whose parents had never gone to college. They came and did these research experiences at the lab, at the lab, Space Sciences Lab. So they did an amazing job on that. All right, Dar, do you want to add anything?
No, that was good. It was many years ago, many moons ago that we were at Berkeley together, but it feels like just yesterday. And the community stays together, right? That's the thing.
Exactly. All right, so Darcy's here to share a project that she's starting to work with on. Prepositions are hard. That's why I have Hannah. Take it away and add anything you want to add, Darcy.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, hi, I'm Darcy. This is Parker. We are here to share you. It's more of an idea of a project, but I think there is like a clear connection between our communities. So I'm actually a cosmologist, and a lot of what I'm going to talk about is a bit removed from my actual science, but I just care a lot about it and I can see where it's going, and so this worries me. So you may notice, I know you guys mostly stare at the sun for this project, but the night sky is changing. And it's changing pretty rapidly. You may have seen the Starlink trains going across the sky, or just noticed that I remember during the RU program, these summer students, we went camping, and I had like the satellite pass tracker on my phone, and it was like, oh my God, the ISS is going to pass overhead. And like it was like nothing, and then you wait and you see a single satellite pass across the sky 10 years ago. Now there's just satellites all the time. It's still more of like at the level of a curiosity, but it's also starting to affect astronomy. Even the Hubble Space Telescope is losing 10% of its photos to satellites passing overhead from low Earth orbit. So this change, this huge increase in the number of satellites in orbit, because the cost of launching things into space has gotten much cheaper, is something that my organization is not trying to stop. We're trying to understand it, right? It's not like, I think there's a lot of good coming with this, but we're trying to understand it before certain things maybe get too out of control. And with all of these satellites, there's also some that are very bright too. So I'm a part of this organization, through the International Astronomical Union, that's trying to just organize astronomers who, a lot like, we're professional astronomers, but we're sort of doing this as a side hobby in our free time. We're volunteering to do things like this, like doing observations of these new, especially giant and bright satellites to understand them. This is the Blue Walker 3 that you may have heard of. It's one of the satellites that can talk directly to your cell phone. So it's very big. They imaged it with, bigger telescopes, like at Stewart Observatory, but they also had visual observers as well. As you see in this paper, here, sit on my lap. I don't want you to paint your nails yet. See these green points here are the visual observations of how bright was this in the sky after it launched. And it was actually very bright, as bright as like the 10 brightest stars in the sky, 0 magnitude. Campaigns like this, we're getting ready to do another one, which is what made me think of your group. I'm also, again, here's our little contact info and last slide to show what I'm talking about here. So this is the IAU group. Here are the 2 astronomers that sort of lead the SAT hub, we call it. We're the Satellite Observation and Data Analysis Hub. So we've got professional astronomers, experienced amateurs, satellite operators, people who are just like interested and do a lot of software development. Most of the outputs have been developing open source software and repositories. These might be interesting to you as amateur astronomers. Sat Checker will tell you if a satellite is about to pass through your field of view before you take a picture, so you can avoid it. Or if you want to look at it, you can do it the other way. SCORE is the Satellite Constellation Observation Repository. I forget what the E is, but this is a big repository of observations of satellites to try to understand their properties, things like brightness, thermal emission, and things like that. So there's all these sort of volunteer-led observations and research projects. A bit more like, I don't know, it's very distributed. There's people who are spending all their time on this, people who are experts who just contribute a little bit, and we're all trying to figure out how to collaborate together. So the thing that I couldn't find very many good pictures on this, but I found this one. The thing that I'm interested in possibly doing an upcoming collaboration, you may have heard of Reflect Orbital. They just got permission to launch an 18 meter by 18 meter mirror in orbit. It's called Arendelle 1. I think if you Google those things, the New York Times has written about this. Lots of other things have written about this.
There are some thumbs down happening. Some of our volunteers are giving the thumbs down for Reflect Orbital.
Yeah. And this is just the first one. So, I think I don't know any insider information. As far as I know, within the next few weeks or months, they will launch this demonstration and they'll do a targeted illumination. I think in the US, although I'm pretty sure this is US centered, if they point their satellite at you, it will be as bright as the full moon. And their plan is to put thousands of these into space to do sunlight on demand. So to try to understand what this one looks like, it's going to be this sort of, the similar kind of weird dynamic observing that you guys are doing for the eclipse, right? It's going to pass overhead very quickly. It's probably going to be very dim and then get very bright and then fade away. So there could be an opportunity to do some targeted observations. We're still trying to understand, what would you need to do, both for this or other of our sort of observing campaigns where you're trying to just get lots of data across time and across the globe. So I put some websites and email addresses here for our contact information. If you want to look at the open source software that and the repository that are out there too, are two sort of big efforts right now. I think we're still trying to figure out how to specifically plan around this Reflect Orbital launch, but something interesting that I'm happy to talk to you guys more about. So I'll maybe leave this screen up while I answer questions.
That sounds great. Any questions for Darcy?
Well, thank you, Darlene, for typing it in the chat.
For Dr. Barron. Okay, so it seems like people are definitely concerned about this as well.
Mm-hmm.
From the chat.
We met earlier today, and Darcy's saying that there might be an app in development that will make it easier on your phone. So basically, we want to give you guys like first heads up of this collaboration and this project that's getting off the ground. So that way, when things get developed, you guys could be first wave, right? First instigators, as you guys always are, and spread the word, right? We are going to hit all of our different heliophysics networks, all of our citizen science networks and volunteers, because we need many eyes on the ground to track this thing and see its effects and report on it, right? So we need data. We need to show the truth, what's happening. So just keep a heads up. It will probably come out through the listserv when things happen. It may be announced at one of these meetings. It kind of depends on the timing. So Hannah said, why in the heck? Go on.
So I'm part of the satellite observations network. We have a whole community engagement hub too that also is engaging with all these astronomers. There's about 600 people in this organization, but again, we're like this whole big network of volunteers, and still I feel like we're doing a lot, but also I don't know, trying to get more publicity about this too. It seems like things are about to like really change, not for the better. So trying to get a grasp on what all is changing and what how can we better understand it and explain to people what we might be about to do to the night sky and the earth.
Great.
I
Thank you,
might
thank you. Oh, go ahead, Spencer.
I
Thank
might
you.
be able to run that across a radio station that runs from about northern Virginia, Maryland down to Florida, which would cover a lot of people.
Yeah.
I did that for the 2017 eclipse, and I was overrun by people showing up.
It's gonna be like an eclipse. That's the weird thing. Like we won't know the path because they won't tell us the path yet, but it's gonna be a path of suddenly a full moon racing across the sky. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about the difference of, a full moon's normal speed compared with like a satellite orbit. Like a satellite's orbit about 90 minutes around Earth at these altitudes. So it's really, that's a clip. That's a clip across the sky. So that's a
And
whole
and
nother.
just think of the misconceptions we already have with Starlink trains and people thinking it's aliens already, right? And so imagine this whole thing flashing across some poor geographic location and just a lot of confusion and a lot of things. And then really, most importantly, like science being affected, right? Like telescopes being flooded and observing like just getting messed up because of this random source of light in the sky that's not supposed to be there. Well,
Yeah.
okay, that's just
I
me.
think I need to understand it a little better, but I think they're wondering like, will this hurt your eye if you are looking through a telescope and it passes through it? I think they were saying like, oh no, you'd need to have a really big telescope, like more than 6 inches. And everyone's like, that's not that big.
Yeah. So I think the amateur astronomy community is like the best boots on the ground to really watch this thing and speak up about its impact, speak up about what it'll do.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Darcy. So great to have you
Thank you.
come and present. Um, that's great, and we'll look forward to passing on more information. So as you get it. I think the other kind of special guest did not show up today, but I'm gonna speak to the next thing, which is Aurorasaurus. So I mentioned this at the last volunteer meeting that there is a small possibility that those of you in Iceland getting photographs might get a picture of the Aurora Borealis. Now that has a higher likelihood if you keep your exposure time long. So it may be worth kind of what Tom and Kathy are thinking of in terms of trying to get longer exposure times farther corona for the corona. So we might if you want to help that initiative, which I fully support 100%, then you should add some more exposure times that are long exposure times to your sequence. So that's what I would recommend because we definitely need to collect as much of the light from the aurora as possible. It's very dim up there in Svalbard. So especially, yeah.
Just a quick input from me. A couple of years ago, my wife and I were in Alaska, and we 10 seconds on an iPhone got a fantastic picture of the aurora.
Yep, 10 seconds. That sounds about right. So, um, yeah, so maybe take the 10 seconds in the middle of your sequence and have one long 10-second exposure. Um, Stick it in there in the middle so that if it's there, because as far as my colleague Elizabeth McDonald, she's at NASA and she's running the Aurorasaurus program. She and I don't know of any total solar eclipse and aurora photographs that have ever been taken before. And she's been doing a lot of digging on that. And I've I've read a lot on the aurora because that's what I studied for my research, and I never read anything about an eclipse, total solar eclipse and aurora. So this could be the
First ever. You can make a historical first, y'all.
that would be super cool. So
I was getting good aurora photos at 3 seconds when I was, well, it was on a cruise ship through Tromso, but
it
three
really
seconds.
depends. Yeah, it depends on the aurora. I mean, some aurora you don't, it's like a second. You could get a great photo. And some is like, air glow, which probably 10 seconds is a good amount. So 10 seconds would just guarantee that you can see it. But you're right, it could be less. So I mean, I'm gonna leave it up to you all to decide. Whether you want to put a long exposure time in there or not. That's yeah. So, but I thought I would just pitch it. And yes, it depends on KP index, although um the really up near Iceland, you're pretty close to the polar cap, which is this area where the magnetic fields are, they're called open field lines. But in any case, what it means is that what the aurora looks like up there depends really on the solar wind. Yes. So you could have really low KP and still have aurora that you could see from Iceland. And it could be bright even. But if you have high KP, like we'll never see here in, you know, California, I'll never see aurora unless it's high KP index. It's just not going to happen. But up in Iceland, you can have all sorts of interesting auroras. But yeah. So I think that covers everything we were going to cover today. Any questions on anything before we close out?
You gonna run pictures again?
Run. Oh yeah, yes, I'll show you our picture. Just one. Just
Okay,
one to tease.
Laura, while you get it, I'm gonna make a plug for your Monday talk.
Tuesday
Uh,
talk. Tuesday.
sorry, Tuesday talk. So you may have seen it in the email, but you are cordially invited to Laura's talk. I'm putting a link to the PDF flyer in the chat. She's going to speak to the heliophysics education community about the impact of Eclipse Megamovie and why we are so cool and like the best, best community science project ever. So you're welcome to join. It is at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Tuesday. August 4th. The meeting ID is in there. If you open the PDF, the click to join link will actually work, as opposed to like a printed PDF. And we can come and support Laura as she hypes us up and just shares all the goodness that we've all done over the last, many years now, really, starting from 2016. And it would be a very cool thing. It's called NASA HEAT, Heliophysics Education Activation Team. So y'all are welcome.
Awesome. Thanks. Thanks, Star. And Spencer, I was just showing this. This is the C2 and C3 from Soho combined with one of our observatories that it could be one of yours. I'm not quite sure whose this is right now, but you can see we've been playing with different and different HDR algorithms. So this is one that's similar to what they do on the Soho satellite, actually, that the Soho team does. So you can see how well these streamers just go all the way out, and you can see where they're coming from, and all of this really complicated information that happens, and then it just becomes a single streamer, right? It's like this big complex magnetic loop then kind of collapses into a stream of plasma. And that happens again and again and again. So now we get to see how complicated and cool it is. And we're looking, what we're doing right now is Daniel, this student who just got his physics degree here at Sonoma State University, he's running these code codes on the data and then stacking them to see kind of what's changing and what's not changing over the hour and a half.
Laura, can you show the zoomed out version, the 10 solar radii one?
Yeah. I don't have that one.
Oh, darn. Okay, Daniel had it. Oh, no, there it is.
Yeah, well, this one, do you think this is still that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Look at that. 10 solar radii out.
So that's pretty spectacular.
Oh, I love it. Troy can identify as Bob Burgess. Troy knows these images probably better than anyone else on the team, having stared at it at the mall.
Yeah, so I'll show more of those at the talk on Tuesday, and then and that will be recorded, and then they share it out, so then we can share it out again if anyone can't be there. And then we'll do a Eclipse Megamovie science talk in the coming months. Once especially we're working on papers. 3 papers. We're working on a methods paper, a data paper, and a science paper. So all those are being worked on, and eventually we'll get those out. Eventually they'll be published. We haven't even submitted them yet, but and then also we are pushing because of the photography guide and some of the science pieces and some of these other things that came up. We are pushing kind of the topic for this meeting was going to be around kind of a design for an engineering solution to Eclipse Megamovie, which we kind of saw at the last meeting by happenstance. So if you weren't here at the last meeting, you check out the recording from last month because we had a Eclipse photographer who is an engineer, and he basically took his passion for Eclipse photography and created a camera that does all 3 rotations. So it's not just the mount rotations, but then it also does the rotation to keep the camera oriented with the horizon. So it's pretty spectacular, I think. So.
Yeah, and it was doing all the stacking as well.
And I know.
Everything.
Everything. So, and he's giving 2 Eclipse Megamovie volunteers cameras to test out, to borrow. So we should get some of that data back too, which is very exciting. Yeah, it's exciting. So, we still have a lot to share, lots to talk about.
Yeah, next month especially will be exciting after you guys get back. Can't wait to see what you guys get.
Yep.
Fingers crossed, we're all thinking of you. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. Forever hold your peace. Okay.